In a small Kenderan hamlet, a human apprentice is sitting in a dimly lit basement. It's the early 5th Age, and their life, realm, and species have gone through an unprecedented period of growth and advancement after the discovery of rune crafting revolutionized the world. These thoughts are orbiting the apprentice's mind. He feels blessed, not only for witnessing the dawn of a new age, but also for landing this apprenticeship, working on another discovery that may prove as important as rune crafting itself. He's done working for the day, but just before heading home, he decides to pull a prank on his master. Based on their experiments, he believes he can briefly animate a piece of elemental metal and cannot wait to see his master's reaction if successful. The next day, his master comes to his special workshop. Yet that day, what he found was not a practical joke, but a lifeless body sprawled on the floor. His apprentice's mind had escaped his body and would for the rest of his days be confined in a thin, metallic prison. Welcome to the Questline Lore series, where we will examine the context, story, and lore of every quest series in old school RuneScape. I am your humble lore keeper, and for this first episode, we will be kicking things off with the Elemental Workshop series, whose short story is much more interesting than its rather low-key presence in the game would have you believe. If you want to make sure not to miss these lore deep dives, subscribe and turn on notifications. And now, make sure your mind helmet is solidly secured, for it's time to dive right into it. Elemental Workshop 1. One day, an adventurer's travels take them to the peaceful Seers village. They wander inside this building and browse one of its bookshelves in search of interesting books. An old battered book stands out to them. A quick read reveals that this book claims to hold the secret to working the very elements themselves. It tells the story of the early 5th Age discovery of a unique ore said to be capable of absorbing, transforming, or focusing elemental energy. Since this material was only ever known to be found in Seers village, a workshop was created there in order for skilled craftsmen to work it into special inventions. The book goes on to say that this material's potential was so great that the Magi of the time closed down the workshop and bound it under lock and key, feeling too threatened by its apparent power, adding that even all knowledge of manufacturing process was destroyed. The book ends on a somewhat cryptic note, saying that these attempts were in vain, as the book is still intact and one may still find a way to enter the workshop within this leather-bound volume. The adventurer is intrigued, and a hunch about this last passage leads them to take a knife to the book's cover. As they slash open the aged leather, an old battered key is revealed. The book was rather vague about this special workshop's location, but Seers village is but a small hamlet, and after some searching, the adventurer comes upon an odd-looking wall with a small hole in it inside the building across the road from where they found the book. The key fits the hole perfectly and allows them to open a small section of the wall, revealing a small hidden space with a spiral staircase leading underground. The adventurer steels their nerves, takes a deep breath, and makes their way down. They end up in a huge basement dotted with strange tools, control rooms, and tunnels. Driven by their curiosity, they attempt to make sense of the contraptions in the various rooms of the derelict facility. In the north room, they manage to make water flow through a network of large pipes running through the underground complex by opening the water control valves and activating the water wheel. In the east room, they find some giant damaged bellows and are able to stitch them back to a functioning state with some leather they find in a crate. They pull on the nearby lever, and the repaired bellows spring to life. The adventurer finds a stone ball in another crate and heads to the south room. They find an empty furnace and some lava. They scoop some of it with the stone ball and pour it into the furnace, restoring it. They go to mine some ore in the west room, but as they swing their pickaxe, the rock comes to life, revealing an earth elemental that attacks them. They defeat it and gather some elemental ore from its remains. The adventurer uses the ore along with some coal to make an elemental metal bar in the south furnace, then heads to the center of the basement where some workbenches can be found. They set to work, attempting to smith the material. After some time, they successfully craft the bar into an elemental shield. Thus, their quest is completed. They become the first being to rediscover the art of elemental smithing after more than a century of its secrets eluding humanity. They do not know it yet, but they have merely scratched the surface of this mystery, as foreshadowed by the massive hatch at the center of the workshop, which they cannot find a way to open, for now. Elemental Workshop 2. The adventurer moves on with their life, adventuring away for some time, but fate one day brings them to the exam center. As they browse its many bookshelves for some reading material, they stumble upon a rather interesting book, as well as a definite feeling of déjà vu. They just have a weird obsession for bookshelves. Out of this book falls a little scroll that seems to have been used as a bookmark. The book claims to be the second in a series which aims to preserve the knowledge gained by artisans of the early 5th Age. Sounds familiar? It certainly does to the adventurer. The book explains that a metallurgist called Vitruvius collaborated with an unnamed freelance mage to further reveal the secrets of elemental ore. After 2 years of working on improved refinement methods, they finally maximized the efficiency of their production method, enabling the creation of the best quality elemental metal. But their most important discovery was a new method that became known as priming the ore. The importance of this find was not fully realized at first, but Vitruvius's apprentice one day tried to animate a small ingot of elemental metal as part of a student prank, which did not go quite according to plan, to put it mildly. They accidentally transferred their own consciousness to the bar, turning their body into an empty shell. And once the incident was discovered by his fellow researchers, every attempt to revert the process failed. After a thorough investigation of his unfortunate assistant's new mind vessel, Vitruvius found that the consciousness was bound extremely firmly to the metal. Previous experiments had noted similar results, but the mental energy had always quickly dissipated from the metal, making the process rather useless. However, the primed elemental bars did not have the same flaw. The rest of the book contained instructions for how to smith primed elemental metal. The adventurer switches their attention to the scroll they found in the book. On it was scribbled the following: down 2N, 2E, 2N, 2E, 10N, 4W, and pipe 3. Intrigued, the adventurer returns to the elemental workshop using the battered key they once found. As soon as they reach the bottom of the stairs, they begin following the scroll's instructions by treating it as a number of steps followed by a cardinal direction. By the end of the instructions, they reach a piece of machinery. One of its pipes is labeled as Pipe 3, the last step of the scroll's instructions. They search it and find behind the pipe a small key. They return to the center of the basement, stopping by the hatch they were unable to open during their first visit to the workshop. The key fits its lock perfectly, and the adventurer unlocks it, swinging it open and revealing more stairs. They begin their descent further down the abandoned building. They end up in a second basement, another large room surrounded with cart tracks connected to various machines. Looking around, they find a crate containing schematics, including one detailing the construction and maintenance of a mechanical arm. In one section, they find instructions on how to craft an elemental claw. The nearby crane does have a claw, but one of its 3 arms is broken. The adventurer heads back up and kills an earth elemental for more ore. Using some more coal, they melt the ore into an elemental bar, bringing it over to the central workbench, and set to work smithing the bar into a crane claw. After heading back down to the second basement, the adventurer pulls the southern old lever, making the crane lower its claw. They successfully fix the old piece of machinery by replacing its broken arm with the one they crafted. The south station is now repaired. The adventurer makes their way up the railing in the room, but they find a junction box located on its west side. They fix the machine by matching the right inputs and outputs with 3 different pipes, then search the various boxes scattered around the area. They find 3 cogs of different sizes, as well as an intact bit of piping. To the north of the catwalk, the adventurer finds large pipes, including a damaged section. They successfully replace that part with the pipe they just found, repairing yet another part of the system. The only one left untouched is located east, a tunnel with exposed mechanical parts on its wall, including 3 pins. The adventurer arranges the 3 cogs on them, positioning them so that they can properly interact with each other once they start spinning. The entire system should now be repaired and ready to process elemental bars into the primed ones described in the book. It's time to put this lost early 5th Age technology to the test. The adventurer makes 1 more elemental bar, places it on the jig cart and operates the repaired crane to dunk it in lava. They then operate a nearby lever, which sends the cart to the next station along with the highly heated bar. They pull the station's lever, and the large press comes crashing on the bar, flattening it instantly. It's then sent to the next station, a sealed glass cage connected to the large repaired pipes. They operate the station in its valves, flooding the chamber with water to cool down the flattened bar. Afterwards, they send it to the final station, the large tunnel. Pulling its lever springs the replaced cogs to life, activating a large fan that quickly dries out the bar. The priming process is at last completed, and the adventurer recovers the first primed elemental bar created in many a decade. They head down another set of stairs into a 3rd basement, ending up in a large corridor. Most of it is inaccessible, obstructed by large rocks from a cave-in or rockslide, but there is one area they have access to. A nearby intricate door leads them to a room where they see a network of large pipes and machinery all connected to a central spot. At this convergent point is an extractor gun and an extractor hat. The adventurer places the bar under the first device, then sits on the chair next to it. They take a deep breath and activate the device. The hat instantly comes down on their head, sapping part of their mental energy and shooting it straight into the bar. The process takes a mere instant, leaving the adventurer feeling magically drained, but otherwise completely intact. As their heart starts calming down, they look upon their creation, the first mind bar in generations. They climb back up to the first basement and head for the workbench. They open the book they found at the exam center, flipping the pages until they reach the metalworking instructions. Using this guide, they manage to make a mind helmet out of the bar, and their quest to unearth the old secrets of the elemental workshop is complete. They have single-handedly rediscovered this lost wisdom which was once believed to be as important as rune crafting itself. This quest series is a little strange lore-wise. They make it sound as if the secrets of the elemental metal have implications as huge as that of rune crafting. But in context, when the player digs it up, they just make a mostly useless shield and helmet, then just move on with their life. It would be interesting to see a new elemental workshop quest, and just judging by the huge obstruction in the last basement's corridor, I'm pretty sure they did intend to expand on it. RuneScape 3 did release a 3rd and even 4th elemental workshop quests, and there definitely could be interesting ways to add to the lore of the first 2 in OSRS. Imagine the player telling the seers about the discovery, and so they excavate the deeper parts of the workshop and ask them for their help. But there's shenanigans as some shady people try to push the experiments or keep the knowledge for themselves or something. Just a thought. Why not share your own plot summary for a follow-up quest in the comments? And if you've watched this far, then clearly you like this and should subscribe to the channel. It just makes sense, doesn't it? And turn on notifications, trust me, you won't regret it. Besides, it helps the channel, which means more gamers can understand what's going on around them while they're being spacebar warriors. But in any case, thank you so much for watching this first episode of the Questline Lore series. It's something I've been asked to do numerous times and I've been looking forward to starting it. Might not have been the most interesting questline to start things with, I know, but hopefully I made it interesting enough. And no matter what, my goal is to ultimately cover them all, no matter how short or long. So stay tuned, don't forget to hydrate, and I'll see you next time.